the third night of the RNC was, in my opinion, overall a win for the Republican Party, a win for Trump. And I mostly say that because even though it was a star-studded event of liars and complete deceptions and complete delusion about where we are as a country, I think that there was strong messaging that a significant portion of Americans do want to hear. I think most Americans want to feel proud about the country they live in. I think that right now there's a sizable portion of the country that questions whether we're the best. But I do know that when it comes to Trump's base, and that's really who they're trying to appeal to, they love this kind of messaging, the messaging of American exceptionalism, the messaging that says that we've won the battle against coronavirus and everything's great, we can all go back to normal. These are things that people want to feel and hear, and that's what they got tonight over and over again. We've conquered terrorism, we've done this, we've done that. When in reality, we're dealing with domestic terrorism, we're dealing with an ongoing pandemic where more than 1,000 Americans are dying literally every single day. We've already lost 177,000 Americans thanks to the pandemic. But this messaging works, and just one piece of evidence to show you how it works is a recent poll from CNBC that showed that when you look at the swing states, only 66% of Americans are concerned about coronavirus. And at the same time, Donald Trump's approval rating in those swing states has been surging. So fake it till you make it. And that's what we got tonight from Trump's campaign. And that's what we're gonna get from him moving forward. I believe that it was smart and savvy for Trump's campaign to continuously attack Biden. I wish we saw more of that during the DNC. I think that would have been more effective. I would have clowned Trump relentlessly. I would have talked about what a failure he is. I would have talked about the civil unrest, his unbelievable level of incompetence when it comes to dealing with the pandemic. There was a little bit of that, but I don't think nearly enough. And I'm personally concerned about how the general election is going to turn out.
I do largely agree with you. I think that the only speech specifically that sticks out to me, though, is Kayleigh McEnany's. I think Pence's was a massive snooze fest, and he's the person most closely associated with the administration. And so I think that it could be a wash in the end. But what we did zero in on in the live coverage was the lack of coherent vision from the DNC is quite stark when put up against the RNC's very specific vision. Besides the differences in foreign policy, as Donald Trump Jr. talks about how he and Trump is going to end the wars, we have Mike Pence bragging about going after terrorists and being aggressive in foreign policy. But outside of that, they're fairly united, and it's a Trump fest, and they are bathing in American exceptionalism, as you put it, Anna, and they're trying to make Americans feel good again. So they talk about, Pence says, we're gonna make America great again, which sucks. But what they really are trying to do, I'm losing my voice, I'm realizing throughout the night. What they really are trying to do is make Americans feel okay again. Because right now we all feel horrible. And that's because 30 plus million Americans are unemployed. 177,000 Americans have died of coronavirus. The economy's in shambles. Eviction moratoriums are running out. People are in economic dire straits. Black people are getting shot and maimed in the streets. It's horrible. It's a hellscape. So what is the Republican Party gonna do? They're gonna market and they're gonna pretend things are okay. And then maybe people will feel okay. And that's what they're banking on. And the Democrats are banking on people recognizing the reality, but they're not providing an alternative vision. So what do you do then? I'm concerned as well. The polling, as Anna has said, it's changed for me in the past few weeks in terms of how I view the race. So I'm quite concerned.
Yeah, I'm definitely concerned. And I think that a lot of the mistakes that were made in 2016 are being made again. You know, I get it. Donald Trump is awful. And I get how tempting it is to believe that he's so bad that he'll just self-destruct. But it's just, that's not enough to get people to the polls. And by the way, like, even if Biden, based on polling, would win by a sizable margin, which, by the way, like, recent polling is not looking good. Okay, Biden still has a lead, but Trump is closing in on him. That's what I'm trying to say. But what are Democrats doing right now with the post office situation? Because they had the hearings. Okay, great, cool. And I feel like those hearings always end up being nothing more than theatrics, like political theater, like, ooh, look at me. I asked some tough questions of Louis DeJoy. But what happens now? Because the election is quickly approaching. And Louis DeJoy, the new postmaster general, who's like dismantling the post office, was pretty clear in saying that he has no interest in reinstalling those mail sorting machines. So even if all of our commentary is wrong tonight, okay, which I don't think it is, but let's say it is, and Biden is like doing well, majority of voters, majority of swing state voters are gonna vote for Biden. Okay, great, but what are we doing to protect our electoral system, to ensure that anyone who wants to vote can vote and that their vote is going to be counted? What are we doing? And by the way, what's also incredibly frustrating is that there were red flags about this months ago. I remember a few months ago doing a story about how the Trump campaign was planning on sending law enforcement to in-person voting locations to intimidate voters. No one paid attention, no one cared, who cares? That story came back up this week, or was it last week? Recently, and we covered it again on TYT. But is anything being done about that? Are people gonna be able to intimidate voters if they go vote in person? What are we doing? What are Democrats doing? It's almost as if they wanna lose.
Yeah, we talk about long-term and short-term planning and the ability, I guess, we started this post game talking about Michael. And when I think about Michael, I think about his unique ability to see the big picture, which was really rare in punditry. Like you have, I mean, there's just a lot of people that just can't see the big picture. They either see, he could see both is what I'm saying. But what Democrats clearly can't do is see the big picture. The big picture would have not been to nominate Joe Biden. The big picture would have been to address these electoral systems way earlier. But I mean, Republicans are even more short-sighted in the way that Trump can only respond to the pandemic when it's right in front of his face and put out one fire and then let the rest burn and then deal with it when he absolutely needs to. Politicians, they're not that bright. Specifically the ones we have now, and the institutions that are in place incentivize this kind of short-term thinking that is going to blow up in people's faces. And when we talk about best case scenario, Biden winning and the Senate being taken back, I mean, think about how people respond to things in their immediate circumstances. Biden being president is gonna grow so old for people so goddamn quickly when he can't speak coherently. What does the Democratic Party think they're gonna do then? He's gonna be the face, the voice of the Democratic Party? Okay. Like at least Trump was charismatic and could speak and like, pretending he's not funny and no, he is. He's got this weird charisma about him, I'm telling you. I mean, he barely can speak, I get it, but he's an entertainer. Biden doesn't have any of what Obama or Bill Clinton had, which was the ability to communicate.
Trump always sounds like he just ran a marathon and is out of breath. Like he always sounds like he's out of breath. Like my 3-year-old niece has been imitating him. It's like, it's a hoot. It really is. She, like, the other day she was like, this is huge. And I was like, what was that? And she's like, it's Trump. And I was like, oh my God. But anyway, sorry, that was a total tangent. But you're right. I mean, he has a way of communicating, even though it's not in any way articulate, that does appeal to people. And you're right, he's an entertainer. There's no question.
I mean, come on, like, are we as liberals gonna pretend that this guy isn't funny? Like, we're gonna really like pretend that this guy isn't
that.
It annoys me when I talk to other liberals where they pretend like, everything he does is so reprehensible. Everything, like, I can't even listen to him talk. I'm like, you don't like want to hear what he has to say? Like, no, I get it. No, I know.
So I think everything he does is reprehensible, but I also acknowledge that he's funny. Like, he's funny, and it's oftentimes on accident. Let's keep it real, but sometimes on purpose. And yeah, he's top troll. Like, he knows how to troll. He loves trolling.
But that's an
he does it all the time.
Electoral skill that like the media can't wrap their heads around. Anyway, because they take themselves and the other politicians he's trolling so seriously that they can't fathom that the rest of the country doesn't. So anyway, I worry that Biden doesn't have any of those skills, and if he were to win, the like short-term gains would be minimal and everything would fall apart for the party for like irreparably the next 4 or 8 years, when people would just think about it being Biden. So I'm not saying Trump being the alternative is better. That's obviously not what I'm saying. I'm not Jimmy Dore, but sorry. Well, that was a trash argument and it was disproven. So yeah, I that's just my point.
Yeah, and yeah, the theory that we would end up in a completely different situation once Trump destroys everything, that Trump's destruction would lead to a mass left-wing revolution. It just didn't pan out that way. And so I'll end with this. I think that it's still possible for the left to win. One of the things that Michael convinced me on is that a lot of the power really does lie in the hands of the people, of labor, and corporations have no power if their workers are like, I'm done with this. We're gonna take to the streets and we're not gonna stop until things change systemically. Really, that's the only hope we have at this point. And so the question is, will the left be savvy enough to organize? But it goes beyond organizing. Savvy enough to be very aware that people hate us, people in positions of power hate us. They want to destroy us and they want to manipulate us into creating factions within the left. And we're already seeing the factions, right? And I think that it's awful because we need to be working together as allies to fight for a better country. But yeah, I mean, things right now aren't looking good. And I don't know, I'm gonna do my part. We're gonna do our part here at TYT to empower and embolden people to fight back against what we're experiencing right now, not just during the Trump administration, but also during Biden if he wins, because we just deserve better. We deserve better.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.